And the biggest advice that I would give, and that's, easier said than done, but when it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome, you have to learn how to not let it prevent you from continuing going.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of Unstitched Podcast with your host Hannah
and Vika. And today we're talking about a huge topic by the name of imposter syndrome.
Let's get into it.
So I have a definition here. Can I read it out? Is it okay if I read it out? Please, can I read it? I wrote it down. I copied and pasted it.
Vika put down she took rigorous notes. You know why?
I did research.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, exactly. I have no idea what imposter syndrome is, so I went down a rabbit hole last night. Because,
but she knows.
Definition coming your way. Imposter syndrome is a physiological phenomenon in which people are unable to internalize their accomplishments. In simpler words, you don't know what you're doing, hence your achievements is something that you assign to luck. And that is the definition. What do you think of it?
I don't know I don't know a single working artist who does not have imposter syndrome unless they have had like a number of years doing it where they all of a sudden feel like the time that they've been working justifies their accomplishments. So then they can no longer say it's luck. Like it's a sustained, they've been in business for X amount of years. And even those artists, I feel like, are reluctant to admit that they or to say that they don't have imposter syndrome anymore. So I still think they have it. Right. They just have a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, I think it's sort of just like everybody has imposter syndrome at some point or all the time. And it doesn't have to be related to art or, professional life. There's all the aspects of life it can apply to. But it is talked about more when it comes to creative things in life, because those are the things that, bring you pretty big achievements that are like kind of only reliant on you and your education based off of, I guess, not reliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk more in depth of what it is, how it, comes out in life, in artistry, things like that. And, maybe we can discuss what we can do about it, how we deal, things like that. So can you tell me about your experience with imposter syndrome? When did you first start feeling in the way?
I think imposter syndrome sets in at a pretty young age, especially for women.
Right.
I think we're taught at a young age, especially in America at least. And I grew up in a military household where it felt like my entire job was to serve other people and observe other people. So do your chores, take care of other people, like homesteading, all of that kind of stuff, which are good skills to learn. But I feel like it teaches you not to have confidence in your knowledge, but instead that everybody else knows more.
You don't question.
Yeah, you don't question it at all. You just go with whatever they're doing. And so that means you must know less.
You rely on people's decisions and things like that.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to diss a military upbringing by any means. My
I think that applies to everyone, growing up, your parents know better.
But I think
they do.
I feel like girls in general are just taught differently. We're not taught to be super confident in our knowledge. I feel like it's very much you are constantly learning and other people know better than you. So I feel like it starts really young. And the things that I thought I was good at, I've always loved art. But when I brought it up to my family members, or music, for example, because I studied music, I became a music teacher, and I did feel very accomplished and knowledgeable once I became a music teacher. After, I want to say, the first 5 years of teaching, all of a sudden it was I can confidently say I've been in the field for 5 years. That was the time amount for me. But prior to that, I remember bringing it up to my parents that I wanted to pursue art or music. I wanted to be a music teacher, I think, starting in 4th grade. And my parents
Oh,
always
wow.
steered me away from it. Like,
Like, why?
why would you, like, why don't you become a teacher was the first thing, but why don't you study writing or language arts? Why, like, they wanted me to pursue other, and I was like, why shouldn't I pursue music? Like, I'm good at it, but I didn't get the validation of being good at it. It was always like, no, you should follow something else. And it wasn't until my parents came to, I want to say, like my junior year college voice recital, like
Wow.
part of the credentials of getting your degree was that you had to do this big performance, right? It was my junior year in college. So my third year into
Wow.
learning, where
Yeah.
my parents, I think it was like the first time my parents were like, wow, you can like really sing. And I feel like that, even if it was just in like one area of my life, I feel like it applies to everything. Like it starts bleeding into everything. So I think it started pretty young. And then art was always like, to me, it was taught as like, that's something you do for fun. It was never taken seriously from anybody in my life, even though if I look back, I was always making things. I was always gifting things to people that I had made. But it was very much observed as like just a fun hobby or like a little craft.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think
hate
that
that.
sets us up for just having internalized imposter syndrome all the time.
Yeah,
How about
I
you?
can absolutely relate to that. Well, me kind of not necessarily opposite or anything like that, but now that I'm thinking, to my youth in a way. I was for some reason, and I don't know how I got this, but I was convinced, like I convinced myself at some point in my youth that you can do anything if you put enough effort into it. So, I mean,
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah. I mean, like, I went overboard with that in my mind. I'll explain. Because I thought, like, you can lie to people and, be crazy successful about it. Like, if you force yourself to believe it and, like, you portray yourself. Like, I thought that, like, you can learn things like that if you put enough effort into it. So, like, you can get anywhere that you want to
Okay.
if you know how to do it, but you can, like, teach yourself how to do it. This is a really stupid example, but like to a point, I thought, yeah, you can do anything. It's fine. Like as long as you put the effort, as long as you learn and practice and things like that. But obviously, like even the thought of you can do whatever you want to do doesn't change the fact that when you start doing it, that's when the doubt sinks in. That's when you're like, ooh,
Oh,
a little bit tougher potentially, or maybe this is not for me,
yeah.
things like that. But in the, like currently what I'm doing business wise and art wise, I never ever had any art education. Like I don't even remember a single art lesson in my school years. I must have missed that class yet again. But yeah, so for me it was a little bit tough in that sense when people are like, oh, I really like what you do, and I'm like, I still to this day, like I say, like it is incredibly simple what I do, like anybody
Yes,
can do this,
you do that. Yes.
and you have to agree, right? Like
No. For the record, I completely disagree with Vika. It is so hard. To Vika, it is easy, but
it's
I
not.
I beg to differ. I believe satin stitch is so hard.
Well, we don't have to talk about the
No, but
nitty
I
gritty
I
of
do
what
I
we do.
do it is being able to like, it's not dismissive necessarily, but being able to like kind of diminish what you do is like a part of what we do when we have imposter syndrome, to like,
Yeah,
oh, well, it's
I want
easy.
to.
That's why I'm good at it. Instead of I'm good at it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I want to clarify because over the years, like I'm not in the place where I'm doubting myself
Right.
constantly.
Yeah.
So, there's steps that I've taken, there's experiences that I've had
Same.
that taught me
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
So I want to say, like, even though I do say like what I do is very simple and it is easy, it's, like you just have to do it. But I understand that you can be successful mastering the simplest things.
Okay.
So you don't have to take on a crazy job.
I
You
can
can
see what
just
you're
do the
saying.
simple thing
Yeah.
and put your own spin on it. Like, big part of the reason why like I blew up a little bit on the internet was that I did like the biggest bloody hoop in the world.
Yes.
Like, stitching, probably not in the world, but
we love a good big hoop.
nobody's like, not many people are doing that. Like, I don't think that I've seen anybody do that. And I was like, oh, they sell these 28 inch. I'll take it.
Yes.
So that's one of the things. Like, it's a simple thing, and maybe it'll be like mediocre on the small scale. But what if I do something crazy with it and make it huge?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the point of it can be a simple thing. Like, I guess on paper, I agree with you. If you read the instructions of how to do a satin stitch, you're right. It is it's a simple directions wise to learn satin stitch. It is simple.
Crazy simple.
But I think for someone to do it so very well, consistently, and provide a way to teach other people how to attain the same look, that is where like your mastery comes in. And that part I don't think is innately easy for most people. So, and I agree, like large scale pieces. I think we were both working on large scale pieces around the same time because it was like, oh, this would be fun.
Yeah. It is crazy. Yeah.
It is crazy. My peeking out behind all those boxes. But anyway, I think
crazy.
so. I agree with you. I totally get what you are saying, but I still think satin stitch is very hard to execute well. So I will throw that out
not
there.
if you hack it yet again. But if we go back to the imposter syndrome, before we like dive into like core of it, just to be able to understand it better, because this is really valuable information.
I think so.
If somebody, I wrote some notes down, of what I want to bring up and talk about in this episode. And the whole time I was thinking, if I heard this 2 years ago, if I bumped into this information 2 years ago, I would have had a much easier time dealing with my own like
1,000%,
head.
I agree. Yeah.
So take notes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest part of why we wanted to talk about this is because, again, for some reason, this is like a gatekeepy kind of experience for many people.
People don't really talk about that. Why do you think people are not talking about it? Why?
I think it's
because hard to
explain?
explain?
I think admitting that you have self-doubt in an era where, especially if you are doing well, like social media wise, right? Like if you have a large following, or if like you are trying to gain a following and you want to appear confident and you want people to like buy into what you are selling, you
have to fake it till you make it.
Yeah, you don't want to admit that you have major doubts about yourself in this way, so people just don't talk about it.
Yeah, you're right. I think
and that just feeds into it more and more because no one talks about it.
Yeah, no one talks about it. So when new people, people who are just starting out, trying to enjoy the journey, and they're like, everybody's so awesome.
Yeah.
And they never talk about like feeling shit about their stuff or themselves. Like, why am I like that? What is this?
Well, and I think that's why, like, both of us, like, we would have benefited from talking about this early on. But if we don't see anybody else talking about it, then it just makes you feel like you're a little crazy. Like,
and this
clearly I just have a really bad anxiety, so I'm just not going to talk about it. That's a me problem.
Yeah. That is true. And obviously this applies to like business aspect of things, art, and like literally everything.
Yeah.
But what I want to say, like going like before we jump into this, like full on, I want to say that the reality, and this is truth to me, and I think to everybody else, is nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They are just taking one thing at a time. They're making baby steps. They're learning along the way, and they are prepared to deal with consequences of their actions. You know, they have to educate themselves as it happens. And, you know, people make mistakes. You make mistakes. You deal with those mistakes. And it's not having the fear or managing your fear when it comes to not knowing what's going to happen in the future, not knowing how to deal with things. You freaking learn, you take baby steps. But everybody's faking it. Ask around. This is my testimony. Ask around. Like, you go ask a lawyer, ask a doctor, doesn't matter. Like, you know, doctors are studying like half the day that they're doing their work.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to learn and they don't know everything. Lawyers don't know everything. They're studying again half the day. Everybody. They're just like, well, this is how it is. And so when people are, especially social media age, you're seeing all these perfect works, all these perfect people, they have their shit together. They don't. They just make it look like they do. And you're buying into this, and that's feeding into your imposter syndrome. So that's literally, take it to heart.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They're just figuring out, just like you are. So before we dive into this, there's psychology or physiology, whatever that word was, behind all of this.
There is psychology behind it.
Psychology, of course. Yeah. So let's unravel imposter syndrome.
You mean unstitch it a little?
Let's unstitch it. Not a little, a lot. Let's unstitch it a lot. We'll try to keep it short and to the point.
We're getting the seam ripper out. We're just gonna right through.
Do the thing. Yeah. Okay, so what I wrote down is 5 types of imposter syndrome, and you will relate to this. I think everybody will relate to one or more than one or all of them. And we'll just make it like super easy. Hannah, do you want to read them out or do you want me to do it?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 5 different types that we've kind of narrowed down are the perfectionist. So like, I'm just not good enough unless everything is perfect, which you will never attain. Number 2, which is the expert. Because I don't know enough, I clearly
I haven't learned enough. I need to study more. I need to know more than them. Yeah.
The natural genius, where we just think, oh, it's just because I'm just good at it. That's why. So you
or you're not good at it.
Yes.
So you can't be like successful.
True.
It goes both ways. Yeah. So I can't sing. I'm not naturally a singer. You are. And so every time I sing, or because I love to sing in the car, you know, like stuff.
You're a good singer.
No, I'm not. I am.
Yeah,
really
you
not.
are. We sang at the top of our lungs in my car.
We did.
I love singing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I love singing. I'll never give it up, but I suck at it. I'm just not. I don't have a voice. Like, my whole family is shit singers. But yeah, so when you think, oh, I'm not naturally good at it. So like, if Hannah's telling me, you're okay, you're fine, I don't believe it, because my whole family is not. I never thought that I'm good.
See, I don't think I had looked into that one enough. That makes more sense that way.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Then there's the soloist who, like, well, because I got help of any kind, like, that's why.
Yeah. So if you're feeling like you have to do everything on your own, have to learn everything and do every part of the job yourself. And if you get help, you're like, well, that's because I got help. Like, if you achieve something.
Right.
I'm not going to say nothing.
Yeah. And they're all really frustrating when you read them out. Like,
super frustrating.
So silly.
But I can relate to every single one of them so far. Is it the last one? What's the last one?
The last one's the worst one, I think, which is like the super person, which is like, if I don't get like the highest accolades for this thing, then like
an overachiever type thing.
Yeah. So, which I feel like artists for sure do this. Like, if I don't get into the art gallery I want to, if I don't win an award at that gallery, like, just because I made it into the gallery does not mean that I actually know what I'm doing, because I didn't get any special recognition. Or for so many of us, for social media, it's like, well, I don't have a big following, so clearly I don't know what
This
I'm
post
doing.
didn't get enough likes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that
These are painful.
they
These are
are.
so painful.
Which, when you talk about, that's the other part that I find so fascinating about imposter syndrome is when we look at it in black and white terms like this, it is so easy to be like, that's ridiculous. Why would you believe that? Yet, I think I have done all of those before. I think I've experienced all of those types of
It's actually
imposter
crazy to
syndrome.
put that on paper and
Yeah.
look at the words. Like
You
perfectionist.
you can see that it doesn't ring true when we look at it like this, but when like
It's
you're
silly.
experiencing it, it feels so like overwhelmingly real that you just are not good enough.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy.
So maybe everybody needs to sit down and like read through this out loud.
Yeah, I have an article that I studied last night. I think I'll put a link in the show notes and YouTube video description so that people can go through. I think it's verywell.com or something like that. I think it's something to do with psychology and like mental health, things like that, as it's a physiological thing. Psychological, physiological. I'm struggling with English words.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's my second language. You know,
It is your
don't have to
second
be
language.
perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so one other thing, and it's a pretty big thing that I do want to talk about, which we already started kind of talking about it by the name of SOS, which you used a different name because Sean
my
mentioned
husband
that.
is a PhD in the realm of psychology. So, it's called the shiny object syndrome, or it also, we believe anyway, we're pretty sure it's the same thing, is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is where like for some reason
Phenomenon.
when we are at the very beginning of learning something, we have such high confidence that we know what we're doing. And then like as you actually gain more knowledge about that thing, whatever it is in your life, small business, being a parent, housekeeping, like it can be literally anything, business side of things, actual art practices. As you gain more knowledge, your confidence level in it seems to diminish greatly. Like when you should have the confidence, you just don't have it until, again, time has passed and you've like had a very long-winded road of whatever this is. Then all of a sudden, your confidence level actually like goes along with your knowledge level.
Yeah. So when I first learned about this shiny object syndrome, which I'm going to call this a vicious cycle because for most people, that's what it turns into. And I'll explain in a little bit. When I first heard about this, it resonated with me so much. And I looked into it in more depth, and it made me understand certain decisions and certain things that I have done in my past lives, in the past. Not past lives.
Also past
I
lives.
don't remember those.
We're just
Probably.
we know.
And made me think of future me making decisions. And like just literally it's all about the attitude. And this shiny object syndrome got stuck with me. Like I still remember the way that it was some kind of like a lecture I saw it online. Can't really remember, so long ago. But it just stuck with me. Still remember the way that he talked about it. Can't even tell you who it was or where to find this lecture. I'm sorry. But he talked about it in the way that would apply to literally anybody and in any kind of circumstance. And I look at it more like not necessarily like art business.
Right.
I'm looking at it life-wise, like in complete general. Obviously, you can apply that to art and business.
Yeah.
And the way that you spoke about, the first stage, which is getting inspired, what did you call it? The something uninformed optimism, something like that? What was the first stage?
Yeah, the first stage of it, again, you can look it up on Google, the peak of enthusiasm,
Peak of enthusiasm. Yeah.
which some people also lovingly call the peak of Mount Stupid.
I love that name.
Which I love. What's
Peak
your
of
Mount Stupid? That's put it in the comments. What do you think your Mount Stupid is?
Yeah, there's we'll leave a poll on
Yeah.
Spotify. You
Love
can
that.
check them out. They ran out like 2 weeks after or something like that. But we can see the results afterwards. So we'll leave a poll. Check those polls after every
Yeah.
episode because we'll put something fun in. Right. So yeah, I have it written as uninformed optimism. And even though I do like the Mount Stupid, I think to me, it's a little bit inaccurate because
Yeah.
to me, the way that I see the stage is just excitement. You just get
Totally.
excited. You just found your new shiny thing that you're like,
Absolutely.
ooh, I'm gonna lean into that. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna see what it's all about. Like sparks your interest. So I don't think that it's anything bad at all. I don't think it's stupid.
Totally.
But it can be like a little over. So the principle of it is that you look at this new venture of you for yourself as the exciting thing. That's like your next big thing. And you get excited because it looks so simple. It looks like, oh, maybe I can do this. Like
Absolutely.
I can learn about this. I can figure this out, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get to the next stage, which is when you put your words into action and you say, okay, I'm going to learn about this. And once you do, you're like, ooh, actually, it's a little bit more complicated than I originally thought. And so that's when your doubts start to come in and you're like, maybe it isn't for me in that sense. So once you start getting these doubts, they kind of take over and you understand it's very difficult to continue. And that's when you end up in the valley of despair, right?
Yeah.
And that's when your new venture becomes your past venture because your focus changes to the new shiny thing that you'll find because you get distracted at this point. Like you don't want to do all the work. You didn't think that there would be so much work. And that is the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
You get excited, you learn about it, you realize it's too hard or it's not as simple as you thought it would be. And then you just switch focus to something else and start over the whole circle. And I mean, I think everybody can relate to that in one way or another. Like, can you relate, Hannah, to this?
Yeah,
cycle?
I was just thinking about how there's a little bit of intersectionality between ADHD and hyperfixation. I'm curious how that plays into imposter syndrome. Because
I mean,
yeah, anyway, sidebar.
No. I don't. No, I like that.
But it makes
I like
me
where
wonder.
you're going with this. I think that would definitely be difficult because undiagnosed ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's for sure because, keeping attention on the same thing, on one thing for a while is difficult.
Which I wonder if maybe that's like a superpower of people who have ADHD, which again, undiagnosed here. But because one of the things that ADHDers do is hyperfixate on something. And sometimes, though, that means that they hyperfixate so much that they actually do learn. Like they go through that valley of despair and just keep going. And then it's something shifts or they do see another shiny object, they switch, but they like manage to move through the valley. So yeah.
That is really interesting. That is very interesting.
I think the reason why I did not start my small business until 2019, like officially put it on paper, until friends and family were like shouting at me to do it, is because of shiny object syndrome. Because for me, I was very good at, I was learning about, I'm interested in a lot of different things. And it was like the pressure of officially tying my name to just one focus was so terrifying that I just never did it. Because again, I don't know, I guess I'm not going to be good enough at that one thing. So I'll just keep looking in hopes that I will find the thing that like it will click and it'll just seamlessly happen.
It's crazy. It's making me think of it feels like we're almost taught by society that the dropping off at the valley of despair of your new venture is the norm.
Yeah.
We're almost like, yeah, you were interested in that, but then you got interested in something else.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay kind of
Yeah.
thing. You know, like, it's expected for you to fail, for you not to go through.
Yeah.
It's like a, you know, like it's a stage, right? It's,
Yeah.
what's the word? I can't think of the word. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter.
But I also feel like today's society, like what we are growing up in of the technology era, we also have this rapid amount of knowledge coming at us from all sides. And
that's a whole new episode.
yeah.
I have strong thoughts about this.
Yeah, but because we grew up in this era of like booming technology and instant gratification, I think that also plays into it because we are taught basically like, you lose interest in that, just swipe and you'll find another thing. And so like when it
Did this video not hook you in? Keep scrolling.
Keep scrolling. And so we do that. Like that is rewarded to just keep switching. So like,
yeah,
I mean,
this is a bit of a side thought, but I just thought of it and it really pisses me off. And we talked about this like a number of months ago, just briefly, because a certain company wanted to do a collab with you and you didn't because it wasn't a great idea. But I don't know if you'll remember. I keep getting these ads everywhere.
Yep.
Saying swap mindless scrolling for, what's it called? Micro learning, I think is what it's called. Like switch, instead of scrolling, do learning.
Yeah.
And for a person who suffers with anxiety and never feels like I'm being productive enough, is a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Is micro learning.
Yes.
So I think that could also like play towards, I don't know enough, I need to keep learning because people are telling me I need to keep learning. Things are constantly changing. I'm never gonna learn everything because shit keeps changing. Like, I mean, that's reality. So like, how do you get yourself out of there and put yourself back up on your feet?
Yeah. I mean,
so tough.
It's so tough. And I think the people who are truly successful in reaching contentment, right? Which like, maybe not everybody has the same like life goals, but for me, I strive to be content, not to be happy all the time because that's unrealistic, but like to find a balance in life.
Yeah.
The people who truly appear, because again, they could have imposter syndrome, but who truly appear to have reached that are the people who like have just decided to like discipline themselves to push through because whatever it is that they are focusing, whatever aspect of life it is worth it to go through that. Like they have the confidence and like reassuredness in themselves that like whatever it is, it's so worth it. So like they just stick to it. And that's hard. And
yeah, because FOMO.
Yes.
You don't want to miss out, do you?
No. And because, I mean, really, life is fleeting. We don't know how much time we have. And so, like, time feels, which again, this all also pushes into, like, just how, like, a patriarchal society and a capitalist society makes us feel like we are lazy if we don't use our time wisely. That all feeds into it, too. So then it's
absolutely
the other component of that is, I don't have enough time to get there. So I'm going to find the other thing that's like, that must be more worth my time. So I give up on this.
Next thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, next.
Well, the reality is if you just stick with it and even if it's a slow learning thing that like, it's going to be okay. And also that we should be able to learn about many different things at whatever pace. You don't have to arrive by a certain time for you to be considered successful at whatever aspect of life it is. So,
yeah, absolutely. So the trick, and I want to talk about my experience next and yours.
Yeah.
But the trick is to get out of this vicious cycle of shiny new thing, learning, realizing it's too hard, switching focus to something else, is to when you realize that this is really hard, you have to sit with it, and you have to give yourself time to acknowledge that, yes, it is not as easy as I thought originally. But do I still want to do this? And if you do, then there's no reason for you not to continue. Again, baby steps. That's how everybody does it. You learn as you go. You hit things that you don't know how to deal with, and you learn. You figure it out. You just figure it out, like, as you go. That's literally it. And it sounds so awful, right? Like, yeah, go figure it out. But that's how everybody does it. That's how you do. Like, you find help. You find help along the way. You never know.
Right.
Like, I'm in the process of switching website hosts, and I'm going to tell you, it is an awful amount of work. And it is an awful amount of learning. And I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful that life has put a person on my path that is helping me with it. And I have no idea how the hell it happened. It happened.
Good.
And shit happens. Good stuff happens. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you'll figure it out. You'll get there.
Yeah.
And then that's when you, like, once you sit down with it and realize you can continue going and just deal with every problem one by one and learn and figure it out, then your uninformed optimism at the beginning of the stages turns into informed optimism, because you realize that you can do this. That's how everybody does it, you know, step by step, one little thing at a time. And then you reach success, a certain level, and then you master it.
Yeah.
That's the shiny object syndrome, and it is possible to get out of it.
Yeah.
If you have an understanding with it. I think that it is very important that, like, you sit on it. You sit on this information, on your experience. You analyze it for yourself, where you are at, what are you willing to do, what are you not willing to do, and things like that. So for me personally, the way that we talked about this, like, we're not in the same places that we used to be 2 years ago when, shit hit the fan, the imposter syndrome sunk in. And I distinctly remember it was like right before I quit my day job. That was a huge, huge step, like leap of faith in a way that I had to take. And I remember sitting myself down and trying to run through this. And one thing that, like, made a huge difference is realizing that I really, really enjoy this. And I will continue doing it no matter what. So whatever comes my way, I can figure it out, because there's pretty much nothing that can stop me not wanting to do this, make me not want to do this. So that was a thing that I had to sit on and sleep on. And that helped me really understand that, yeah, I can do this. I'll figure it out one step at a time. Learning doesn't end.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
That amount of, I mean, self-reflection is always key, but, like, coming to the realization, like, is this something that I will continue to do regardless?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that offers so much freedom.
Yeah, I mean,
if you come to the conclusion of, like,
yes, it is difficult, but, getting up every morning is freaking difficult. You still do it, don't you?
Yeah.
Both of us.
I feel enlightenment. That was great.
Yeah, tell me about your experience.
You also went after that.
I did.
It was 2 of us.
Like,
I hope you all
remember
watching.
This. I remember it was a huge one.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, for me, I think admitting that we have imposter syndrome just speaks to the fact that we are human and that we are not narcissists. Because I think not being able to be truly self-reflective, that's like when warning bells should be going off for anybody, like, so if you are experiencing imposter syndrome, it's a natural part of the process. And I think it's good. It's like a proof that
It makes
we
you reflect.
want to
Yeah.
be better at whatever it is. And
Mhm.
isn't that life? Like, we're all just striving to be better. We're striving to leave the earth better than the way we found it, to try and like
Mhm.
make some sort of impact on the world around us. And so
Mhm.
for me, honestly, it was just time, which is not as comforting for anybody else, because you like want to fix it right away. You want to like not have imposter syndrome right away. Like, I don't like this icky feeling. Please help me get rid of it. But for me, it was just again, the trust the process, fake it till you make it, and also it takes a village, which isn't, I mean, like, that's how we met, like community, finding people, talking, that
Mhm.
all really helps you feel like
Yeah, at some point you
it's
just realize
normal.
everybody's doing this. Everybody, like,
Yeah.
nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. They're just doing it. They're figuring
Yeah.
out. So
And then,
it made me feel better.
yeah. And I think
I'm
the
not
other part
alone.
also, like the not so nice part of imposter syndrome, is that jealousy just rears its ugly head. And in comparison, we really start going down a terrible, vicious cycle. Like, imposter syndrome can lead to really awful behavior too. And
Mhm.
so, like, being aware that if you start going down that rabbit hole of comparing yourself to other people, or like, um, really getting down about how you aren't accomplishing in the same way that it looks like other people are accomplishing, like that, if you give too much energy into that, it will absolutely destroy you, and then it will suck the joy out of everything, and then
Do
you
you
won't
have any
succeed.
practical advice
So
on that? On that, because it is, you're preaching to the choir here,
yeah,
but what is something that, like, practical that people
for
can do
me,
instead of just like.
honestly, I I think limiting the amount of time that I consume content helps immensely. Like, being rooted in the real things, the things that I actually can affect, like can actually make direct change to. So like, because I will find I mean, I think many of us, I will find myself like, if I really admire someone and then I like start reading up on all of their accomplishments, it like I'll, or like follower count, for example. Like, oh,
It's okay. Don't shy away from
I
this.
really
You're
admire
preaching
this
to the choir.
artist. This artist has, I mean, when I first started, there was one artist, and I will absolutely shout her out from the rooftops. Her name is Helen. She goes by Ovo Bloom. She's a phenomenal human being, an amazing artist. But I remember looking at her profile, and it was, I mean, Instagram was very good at that, right? Like this, like Insta worthy feed,
Feed.
where like you look
Perfect
at it
feed.
and it is just impeccable. She has
Mm-hmm.
one. And of course, she would probably argue, because we all have imposter syndrome, but oh man, I would look at her feed before I knew her, right? And I would just be like overcome with jealousy of like, she's living this life. Like, I wonder what she's done to get this life, you know? And like,
Mm-hmm.
I would look, and it was, it's like all consuming sometimes, that you want to, and then, because I consumed her content, because I would go to her profile and look, of course the algorithm's going to feed it into me. So I would just see beautiful post after beautiful post that she was making, and I was like, oh my
Hurting
God, I'm
yourself.
never going to be able to do, like, how the hell does she do that? Like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
do that. I don't, those photos are so stunning. Like,
Question:
yes,
did you unfollow her?
no. So I do think, if you, I do think unfollowing, or like, not
Hiding. Mm-hmm.
hiding certain
Mm-hmm.
people can be a super healthy thing. But
I have a list.
this was
Yeah.
back when Instagram was, I mean, they didn't have those
It had
functions.
3 buttons: like,
Yeah.
share, comment.
And so honestly, the way that I got over it, in this specific instance, and I do tell people to do this, I just fucking opened a conversation with her. I was like, I'm going to stop putting her on this giant pedestal, because she's a human. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember what it was that she posted about,
Yeah.
but she made a post about something that was like very, all of a sudden I was like, whoa, she's like, that's a
She
that's a
she
normal
speaks.
person behind this. Yeah.
She's the
And so I
person.
think I commented on it
Mm-hmm.
or something, and she responded, and then I ended up just like sending her a message. I went into her DMs and I just opened up a conversation, and then I realized she is probably one of the most normal human beings You know, like she's so
Mhm.
real and so personable and so warm and inviting. And like that was when I realized like how ridiculous that I was putting all of this like time and energy into like being so jealous and envious of this person. Like I still am like envious of her artistry. Like I admire her so greatly, but it doesn't come from a place of jealousy anymore. It comes from a place of like just being truly humbled by like how awesome of a person she is. And so like shifting from like that like the ugliness of like envy and jealousy
Mhm.
and shifting to
Yeah, I
like
think there is a fine line between
it's
being
hard.
jealous
Yeah.
and taking inspiration.
Yeah, and, like, jealousy also super normal, like,
Mhm.
that we want to have or attain whatever it is that those other
Yeah, but
people
when you're
have.
struggling with imposter syndrome
Yeah.
attack, it is not helpful.
It's not helpful, but
Yeah.
I do think leaning into people that you either do know actually in real life and, like, talking to them about it, or if you feel like you have the space to just, like, open up a conversation with someone, that it could really help. Um
Yeah, I'm gonna spill a secret here, um, based on personal experiences. Most people that some reason get put on pedestals
Yeah.
are again human, but also they're not unreachable.
Yeah.
If you come across a person on Instagram and their DMs are closed, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
But not everybody's like that. Like you can message people and ask them or like talk to them, open a conversation, like you said. Like people are human
Yeah.
and they do want to connect. They don't want to just it's a little bit different when you're talking about like celebrities and things
Oh,
like that
yeah.
because those
That's different. That's a different
probably don't
level.
even run their own accounts.
Right.
you know but when it comes to like not celebrities, let's say that, the majority of those people will be reachable. So like
Yeah.
if you somehow for some reason or whatever admire somebody and you put them on the pedestal and you think, oh, they'll never respond to me if I message, well, why don't you freaking open that DM and send a message and
Yeah.
see what happens?
I mean, in like worst case scenario, they like are very short with you or don't respond. And like,
Yeah, like what's changed then?
yeah, like, yeah. And I think the other part of it is like if there are also though the alternative is that like let's say you do start a conversation with someone and they seem to be achieving while you are not, that can also kind of spiral imposter syndrome more. So, like, just to be aware of how you are feeling as you are interacting with people. And
hmm
honestly, for me, it was just surrounding myself with people that made me feel good. I had a person in my life, a fellow artist and small business owner, who I grew a really fast friendship with, who I ended up spending lots of time, like actually know the person and spent lots of time with this
hmm
person. And I started realizing I never felt good being around her. Like, and that really fed my imposter syndrome. Like it was really bad. And, and the more and more I focused on like how much she was attaining, how much she was doing in her life, I realized that it made me feel like a smaller version of myself. And so, there was lots
Limits
behind that.
interactions.
Yeah, but I basically realized like, "Oh my god, this is super unhealthy." Like, this is actually
hmm
kind of like a toxic relationship, and, why am I feeding into this? Like, I had kind of like an epiphany moment, and so I
hmm
stepped
hmm
away and of course this person noticed, but I just kind of ghosted, which I know maybe isn't the most healthy thing,
You
but I
do what you
think
have to do for for
yeah.
yourself.
But I realized it was not helping. So, like, you have to, again, it's reflection is super important in this entire process of like, how am
Acknowledgement.
I feeling when I interact with this person? If I'm not feeling better about myself, I'm going to lessen those experiences. Like, and of course, it's not like self-reflection and feeling bad every once in a while. You should have moments every once in a while where you like, oh, I maybe I'm not doing the best, or maybe I'm, like those, that's
Yeah,
good.
that's not that's
But
not
it's like
imposter syndrome.
the constant feeling of doubt because you are interacting with a person.
I mean, you're coming up with
Yeah, like hide those people on your profile, maybe limit interactions. But
practical. I would say, like, I've had to do that before, just
yeah,
for
and
me.
it
For
doesn't
me.
mean that you're being unkind. Like that's the other part, like I struggle because I always want people. I want to be likable. I want to be kind. I always preach about being kind. But every once in a while, there is somebody who breaks boundaries and makes you feel less than, and you absolutely should walk away. And that has helped immensely with my imposter syndrome to just like recognize that and to truly surround myself with people who give back the same kind of energy I'm trying to put out. So that has helped immensely in my imposter syndrome. And then just time and continuing to learn, like admitting you will never know everything about what you are focusing on in your life, admitting that and just like making the decision that you're going to devote yourself to being a lifelong learner. That also like lessens the pressure of imposter syndrome. Because it's like,
I want to say something. Completely agree with you there. There was another thing that got stuck with me, came across on TikTok of all places.
Of all places.
I know, one of those like gurus or whatever.
Yeah.
They're
good.
Got stuck with me, so
Yeah.
I'm going to share because I think it is true and it is helpful. When you think about what it is, like your new venture, what you want to do, and when you realize that maybe you're not knowledgeable enough to speak up, to teach, to offer your information, like offer yourself as a I don't want to call it like professional, but as an authority, like it is hard when you have to present yourself as an authority,
Yes.
but you don't think that you're worthy to have that authority based off of like a lot of factors. For example, you don't know enough, right?
Yeah.
Typical imposter syndrome thing. And that guy on TikTok said, well, who does know everything?
Yeah.
Nobody. But also, like, as a minimum, as the very littlest thing that you can offer is your unique perspective.
Totally.
You don't have to know everything. You just have to have your own perspective, your own experiences, and people will resonate with that.
Yeah.
And most people won't even care about the amount of knowledge that you have and experience that you have. It is that personal touch, that personal
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's super valid.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be you, because people will resonate with you and with your things. Again, like if we go back to like my super simple satin stitch, like it's the same thing. Like, there's nothing special about what I do whatsoever, but people find it special for some reason.
I find it special
know.
because of the way that you do it. So yeah, it is all about your perspective. I think the other part that you touched upon in there, which could be a whole nother episode, which we've actually talked about, is this patriarchal, like overwhelming like structure that's set up to like feed into our imposter syndrome, which is basically like, I'm not professional enough. I don't have the accolades. I don't have the degree that says that I am a master in what it is. So clearly I'm not professional enough. Like and that all stems from
what is professional?
Yeah,
this is like, a whole new episode.
That's a whole, I mean, we
you are right.
But it really does like, and I think part of that, like social media has helped a little bit with that for me personally, of like realizing like, I can do whatever the heck I want on this app. I can post what I want. It can look like what it wants to. And surprise, the whole world did not burn down because I made a video in my sweatpants. But like this, like I have to have makeup. I have to have my hair done. I have to like look a certain way. I have to be professional. I can't speak frankly.
Yeah.
Like I can't use filler words in my dialogue. it all feeds into like, I'm clearly an imposter because I am not like curated enough for other people to consume. And that's so stupid. And
Yeah,
it's just so annoying. Like, why we waste so much time trying to be
it
so
is.
perfect
I
when
know.
people want to
The
meet you where you are.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And the biggest advice that I would give, and that's, easier said than done, but when it comes to dealing with imposter syndrome, you have to learn how to not let it prevent you from continuing going,
absolutely.
how to ignore it, how
Yeah,
to, shut it up, put it behind the door, like kick it out. You just have to, I don't know, there's like so many different things practical. I don't want to like sound like I know what I'm talking about, like I know what I'm doing, but you heard this thing about like talk to yourself in the mirror, like don't talk to yourself in a bad way, like you wouldn't talk to other people in
absolutely.
that way, like you calling yourself you're not worthy, you're an idiot,
Yeah.
you're so lucky. And like other people might be calling you lucky too because they also have imposter syndrome and they can't believe this. Like,
Ah,
like your family, your friends, if you have something that you're achieving, um, they're not used to seeing you that way. Like, hopefully they'll be super happy and just,
yeah.
accept it and support you. But some people will be like, "Whoa, you're so lucky." They don't know you're spending 12 hours at night doing your thing, mastering your thing, and sleeping 3 hours a day. Like they don't know that. They think you're lucky. You're not bloody lucky.
I hate that. Luck. I hate that because it is so dismissive to be able to just say, "Oh, I was lucky." Yes, you know what? Everyone has moments of luck. We will acknowledge that. However, your success is not one lucky moment after another lucky moment after another lucky moment.
But also, if you think that it's just luck, then why
Why?
the hell will your luck run out? Like why would you think that it would run out? It's
Yeah.
been doing fucking great so far.
Yes. Yeah. It's yeah, and I'll along the same lines for me, it's reflecting on what you have done and if it has gotten the outcome that you where it wasn't a complete and utter failure every single time, then you're doing fine. Like
I
I
second that.
and that progress in most things is very slow. Um, having viral things happen, like social media, makes you feel like unless you've had a viral moment, you haven't made it. But the truth is, it's those
Mm,
slow and steady moments of growth in your knowledge and your ability. Like
yeah.
that's actually where the magic is. And again,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's just
Agreed.
showing up for yourself as authentically as you can and for other people because until I started talking about imposter syndrome with other people, it really did consume
Were
me.
you putting on a show?
Yeah, yeah, and it was, like cuz you want who doesn't want to look successful?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to like put themselves out there as being like an utter failure all the time. That doesn't make you feel good about yourself, like if we want to be able to look in the mirror and give ourselves affirmations, you it's
Live
hard.
through it.
Yeah, it's hard to like do that and then like turn around and like admit that, oh, like I really blew that, or like I don't know this very well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think having a being having connections with other human beings and talking about it is like the best medicine you can have for imposter syndrome because most people will say, "Oh my gosh, I feel that too."
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap it up, I want to say, I want to talk super quickly about this. You mentioned virality aspect, and I think that's where a lot of us, content creators, people starting out, artists, if you put your stuff on the internet, you will most likely in our day and age will experience a surge of
Of some
comments and
kind. Yeah.
of some kind. And I am very sad, but I know some people that did not take it very well. Um, and the imposter syndrome literally made them like delete their accounts.
Yeah.
Just because they couldn't believe, they just couldn't fathom the fact that something of theirs gone viral, their shop got busy, they're doing all
Oh
this.
yeah. I know
And then
people
like they're
too.
realizing, what am I doing? Like 3 days ago I wasn't doing this. I was
Yeah.
getting 1 order a week.
Yeah.
And now like I'm getting 20 orders a day. That's not me. That's not, you know, like the slow and steady that you were talking about doesn't apply here. What do you do? What happens?
I mean, we have both experienced viral surges. And
Don't do it.
when you bring that up, I do know several people. I know, and most of them have had like, I know one who had like a
It is
complete
sad.
mental breakdown, like had to
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
go off of all social media, like kind of ghosted.
I wonder if we're talking about the same person.
Maybe.
We'll discuss that one.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't want to like put other people's
Oh, absolutely.
circumstances out there, but
No.
it is a super stressful experience of having so much positive reinforcement in like such a high volume to then
Talk
have
about imposter syndrome. That's you're bound. You're bound.
yeah,
to
and
have
then
that.
and to then feel like I am so unworthy of whatever just happened because I don't have all of the knowledge or because I've only been doing this for a short amount of time.
Or it's like it's a huge change. Like how you go from, you know, not having this attention then to having all this attention. It's
Yeah.
massive.
And but then also the other side of that is after the viral moment, the imposter syndrome, not only is it peaked when you are going viral, but afterwards when the drop off happens because it is unsustainable.
Agreed.
You will not have the same gains, attention, comments, interactions, engagement. None of that will stay. It's not realistic for it to stay.
Yeah, that's one thing you have to understand.
The fallout
beforehand.
from that is also so terrible because then every single piece of content, especially you know, if you're not like going out to be a content creator, like if you're just trying to make art or just run your small business or just like exist, even if it has nothing to do with products, right, that you're selling. All of a sudden, nothing matches up to what that was. And so clearly, because nothing is doing as well as that previous video, I am clearly such a phony. I am such a fake because no one seems to care about this. So like it's proven. Everyone out there knows that I am an imposter. It's so soul crushing. And like you go into it, all of a sudden, like you're pretty confident. Like it starts taking off and you're like, I love that people are relating to me about this. Like this feels so good. Like initially it's a good feeling initially. And then it usually meets like the trolls of the underbelly of social media. And then all of a sudden like that really feeds into you because then you feel like you have to justify whatever it is that went viral. Because most viral posts go viral because people have strong opinions on whatever the topic is.
Or you just got lucky because algorithm still doesn't know what it's doing.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like for me, I had that viral video and then literally my follower count and my engagement tanked because all of a sudden thousands of people are following, but like only a couple of them consume your content actually. And so then because of that, like you go from having this huge number, but then it's like, oh, okay, Instagram is telling me 1% of my following saw that post.
Yep. Normal.
And then I had like almost no, I was stagnant for like a whole year. And so then, then you're just chasing that viral moment again, which is like, it sucks the joy out of everything too. So I know this is such a tangent, but
when is it not going to be? I think that's normal.
Going viral is because it is not sustainable. It is a really dangerous thing for anybody because we give attention to it. I don't know a single person we can say I don't look at follower count. I don't look at likes. I don't look at comments.
You do.
You do. It's part of being human. Having the little shiny carrot in front of you being able to be. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, last thing I want to say is that imposter syndrome is not going anywhere, and it is really up to you to sit it down on the chair next to you, give it some tea, and send it off.
Get comfortable with it.
Yeah, get comfortable with it is exactly what I'm trying to say. It is not going anywhere. You have to learn to live with it and to ignore it. Oops, sorry. My box is breaking.
Do you have your feet on a box?
I have my feet on a plastic IKEA box. Yes, I do. Because I'm poor and I cannot afford space in my tiny office for a proper footstool or whatever that thing is
my
called.
office is a warehouse, so.
I know. Everybody, switch to YouTube, please, or Spotify, and turn on the videos to see Hannah's backdrop of how many, like,
it's like 160 kits behind me. I'm waiting on one
boxes.
item that got delayed in shipping, and literally all of these are ready to go. I'm just missing one thing.
Insane. It's a wall. Like, you're gonna need a van to take them to the post office.
Which thankfully I do, because I am a mom of 3 and I own a minivan and my seats fold down in the back.
I don't know. Oh, okay. If the bloody box.
Yeah. Get comfortable with your imposter syndrome. Also, congratulations. It means you're human, and we all suffer from.
You got this.
Being
You're
human.
Not alone.
You'll be okay.
You're not alone.
And we're 2 people. Again, talking about, like, wanting to open up dialogue. We are 2 people here that will gladly remind you that you are not alone. I love
DMs.
Yeah.
Unless you, like, message me with a question without a hi, then I'll delete straight away.
There are boundaries. Yes, there are boundaries. Also, coming at me and just asking me a bazillion questions where clearly you are just wanting to, like, live off of the stuff that I have worked really hard to learn for free. Not okay.
Yeah, don't ask me where I buy my fabric, because I sell it in my shop. That's where you buy it. Like, it's very difficult to explain to people that you buy, like, wholesale things in bulk.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to go and buy 25 meters of the same fabric, will you? Especially if you don't even know what this fabric is.
Yeah.
And then, like, I can't send you to a place. Like, I can send you to my shop. I'm happy to. Yeah. But anyway.
So, yes, you can slip into our DMs just to talk to us like human beings. But the minute you start treating it like a transaction, remember, we are also humans. But if you want to have a human one-on-one conversation, to just remind yourself that we're all human. We're your people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the end, we play, it's not a game really, it's a segment that we have introduced. Still don't know if we will stick to it, but it's called Relatable or Not. You tell me. Hannah, did you prepare a relatable or not? So, okay, go.
Okay, so my relatable or not is very silly because we're doing the heavy topic today. Mine is relatable or not. You work super hard to make a story post, and then after you hit post, you realize that there is some sort of an error in the thing that you posted and you cannot edit it. So frustrating. The amount of time.
You had me you work really hard on a story post. Literally the least important, well, not that, but like the thing that doesn't live forever. Like,
oh man,
24 hours and it's gone, and you work really hard to make that happen.
So the last few days, for anybody who follows, I chose for the end of 2023 to spend some time shouting out smaller accounts, because I do remember imposter syndrome being just soul sucking when I was first starting out. So I was like, I'll shout out these small businesses, like I'll boost other people, because I know when other people did that for me when I was starting out, it meant a lot. The amount of times that I forgot to tag the artist in the story post. So I would like,
you have to remember their tags. Like, that's difficult.
Yeah, I would like, I spent a lot of time on it, like screen recording of their feed, or like sharing a post and like talking about them, and like you trying to use their names and like really
spend so much time on that.
I want them to feel special, and then I would freaking forget to tag them, and then like you can't go back and edit it, so I'd have to like delete it and then like relatable or not. Have you experienced that?
I have.
Because
I have.
it's
I hate
soul-crushing
stories.
to me.
I love stories.
I love
But
stories, but I
yes,
hate them. Why aren't they easier to use? Like, they're slowly
exactly.
becoming better, but like,
Yeah.
make them editable. What's that? What's up?
Yeah, for real. Um, I'm just realizing that this whole relatable or not is gonna be just about social media. Because that's the biggest ick. Like, that's the biggest troublemaker in my life. Probably
Same.
your life too. So my relatable or not for today, and I have a long list. I've been working on this list for
I
a
have
while.
been slowly compiling a list too, thanks to you.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. But wait, let me pick. I lost it. Thank you for elevator music right there. You still need to make a track for this segment. Good. I have a sample of this. Oh, you continue going. Okay,
That's my trumpet.
That's not bad, actually. Okay, so my relatable or not is when you get a comment on Instagram and there is a question in the comment and you're, because you're cool, you want to reply to that question. And so you hit reply, you type it out. You type it out. You type out a very long answer because you want to be very helpful. You want to give them, information.
Then you get the error message.
But then you click post and it says, you can't tag this person.
You can't. This person does not allow ads.
What the fuck? People, you forget that you're putting limitation on your Instagram profiles. Please go into your settings and allow people to tag you. Like, don't ask questions. Like, I literally spend my freaking time typing out this poem to you to help you because you asked me. I'm being kind, and then I just can't tag you.
Well, and there is a workaround, but it's annoying because then you have to. I literally hit
delete
edit
the tag
because it's like edit post, yeah, and then. But sometimes it still won't even let you. You have to go to the post that the comment is on and then hit reply.
I am too frustrated to even look into that.
But, oh my gosh,
it is not my fault
annoying
that I cannot tag you in the question that you asked me with an answer. Yes. It is not my fault. And it pisses me off.
so much. That's on my list.
Relatable? Is this relatable, please?
So relatable. It's on my list, actually. So now I'm going to cross it out because you covered it. Or maybe
did you have it on your list?
Yeah. But maybe it's so relatable in a couple episodes. I'll do it. We'll just keep
what is happening to my book? Yeah. I mean, for sure. Alrighty, cool. Anything else you'd like to add about imposter syndrome? I think that's definitely a topic that we'll be bringing up multiple times.
Yeah, is there anything that we missed? Did we forget something? Let us know, and we'll cover it in the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Do that, please. And if there's any topics that you want us to talk about, bear in mind, at this point, we have not even released the first episode yet. It is there sneakily. If you go look for it, you'll find it. But you don't know that it's there because we haven't released it, actually. Anyway, so we don't have any feedback whatsoever, and we're already recording the second episode, which is fine. We're on top of stuff. This is good for us. We're not rushing. We're not running. We're not late. We're ahead a little bit. But yeah, please let us know, leave us reviews, comments, DM us, tag us everywhere. And let us know what are the topics you'd like us to talk about. Again, we are here for the community. We're here to help out, to inspire, to talk about things that nobody's talking about, things that people are talking about, but maybe not talking about truthfully or whatever. We're just bringing you our perspective. It's just two of us. We're not interviewing people. We're just chatting. My freaking box. I need a better box. I keep slipping off of it.
I bought the viral crisscross chair. So my feet, I literally sit crisscross.
That's cool. I need one. Would it work with a couch? With the armchair?
No, it doesn't have arms.
Oh, because it's a chair.
It's like a...
Please forgive my idiocy. Very fun. Alrighty. Let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, number 2. We will be releasing episodes every 2 weeks, we've decided, because it is a lot of work.
It's a lot of
editing.
Work for Vika.
For me.
A special shout out to our editor, Vika.
Thank you.
And
Yes,
producer,
special
our
shout
editor
out.
and producer. She wears
And
many hats.
you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, you're literally just like my guest.
I am with special permanent guest, Hannah Austin.
Yes. I love that. No, it's okay. You have a job.
We said this was
will
not
be
an
posting.
interview podcast, but it is. It is.
Did we lie?
It is an interview with Hannah, just constantly, and Vika is your host. I promise I promise I will do. I promise I will work on my hosting skills and also planning skills. But you are just so excited. I just want to let you.
I am excited. This is a passion project for me. This is my hobby now.
And I'm just along for the ride.
Believe you me, we're not making no money on this. Literally, like I think people have. Well, maybe someday, but we'll see. But people have like not expectations, but like false beliefs.
This is just
about
podcasting.
This is for fun.
Yeah.
It costs us a lot of money, like for this
startup
stuff.
Oh my gosh!
And there's a subscription to be able to film this and whatnot. Anyway,
but this is very much just for fun for us. Like, if anything, it's a little live journal as we go through. Like, we'll be able to go back and watch this and reflect on our time.
Imagine us in like 5 years going back to episode 2.
I cannot wait.
And being like, imposter syndrome. We were such babies.
I know. You had no idea.
You have no idea. Yeah, like, ooh, get ready, put on your socks. Get on the ride.
Girl, you weren't even walking yet. You were still crawling.
That's literally going to be true.
Which is hilarious because I am heading into year 5. February will be year 5 for me, and I actually kind of feel like I know my shit now. So I feel like when we watch this in 5 years, I'm going to be like, you knew nothing, you baby.
Yeah. I mean, I just hit like my first full-time year.
Yeah.
In November, 2 months ago. So
all the feels.
Thanks.
It's amazing.
I know. It's been crazy ride. Crazy ride already. Anyway. Thank you so much for being here. Getting unstitched with us. Hopefully we have brought you some insights. And again, please leave us a review if you can. Please. I know you can.
Please. Our imposter syndrome is going to tell us that we know nothing about podcasting.
So, again, it won't.
I'm going to go find a podcaster and slip into their DMs.
Cool. Well, yeah, give us a follow. We are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. YouTube is our primary thing.
Spotify.
And then Spotify. And you could find us on all podcasting places, except a couple. But let us know if there's one you prefer. I can push it through. But also, Google Podcasts is being disabled if you haven't heard yet. So if you're listening to your podcast on there, we are on there.
I did not know that.
YouTube. They're moving to YouTube.
That makes sense. Right.
So you'll be fine. You'll find us. Yeah. And please check out the poll on Spotify.
Absolutely.
For each episode, we'll put something fun in there. And again, thank you for being here. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello and welcome to Unstitched Podcast with Pika and Hannah. Woo! Today on episode 2, we are covering imposter syndrome. This will be a continuation. So this is part 1.
This is a warm-up. Part 1 of episode 2.
That was gold. Drop mic. Done. Intro done. Hello and welcome to Unstitched Podcast. Today we... Nope.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome.
Have you seen the Book of Mormon musical?
Yes. Hello. My name is Brother.
Pastor? Elder.
My name is Elder Blum. I don't remember their names. I like to
Bryce.
talk to you about this book of Jesus Christ.
Okay, stop.
Maggots in your scrotum.